Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. I am recording this video in early to mid-September and it feels like all the planners and the journals in the world are coming out. And I've been thinking about my setup and I think other people are thinking about theirs. I'm about 85% on the way to mine. But what I did while I was thinking about my options was pull out some of my old planners and journals, and I thought I would share them, a couple of spreads and how I use them. And maybe if you're thinking about getting one of these, you could watch this video or skip ahead to a particular planner or journal. I will talk about whether I've repurchased, how I used it, different ways that I've used it. There's one in here that I really didn't enjoy and I will talk about that too. So I'm going to go from smallest to biggest, and this guy is my smallest. This is the Traveller's Company passport insert. It is dated, and I used this when I wanted to get into gratitude journaling. So every day I would write one thing that I was grateful for in the sort of space for the day. And I decorated it, and it was really good to get into gratitude journaling. I found it hard to come up with things that I wanted to talk about, and the space made it really low stakes. It was easy to be accountable. The passport size is super cute. Here's another spread. Really fun to decorate as well. I loved getting like these little people stickers and putting them in, especially this one where it looks like she's kind of swinging off the bars there. I really liked it. These notebooks are super lightweight. Like I said, the small size, the days, it makes it very easy to take accountability for things as you go. So this one, it's just a little one. There's not much to say about it. But yeah, I would 10 out of 10 recommend this. I don't think that I personally will get this again. I've sort of become more comfortable with gratitude journaling. But I would recommend this if you're getting into memory keeping or any other type of daily journaling that you want to see if it will work for you. This is a great way to start. And yeah, like I said, very low stakes. So that's number one. Number two. Okay, now this I've repurchased many, many times. These are the Hobonichis in A6 size. This is the English version and this is the Japanese version. And I've used these journals in so many different ways over the years. I pulled out these two because I think they show like two different ways that I've used it that are perhaps the most helpful or the most interesting to see. My spreads are not beautiful, by the way, in case it isn't obvious. But I think maybe also it might be nice to see somebody who's not particularly talented how I use these things. It's lovely to look at beautiful spreads, but it can also be intimidating, at least for me. And maybe it's nice to see that you can ruin these books too and they can still have value to you and it doesn't matter. So this is the A6 in the original. It's got the Japanese below. I use this as a sort of planner memory keeper over the year. This is an example of how I used it, an example spread. So I would stick in tickets and things like that. At the top I would put this, and these must have been my days off because what I've put in the to-do pages, actually no, I had things to do that day, but are just things like write morning pages, right? So I was obviously I didn't have a lot going on. And then on the right hand side column, I sort of memory kept, so I talked here's about a perfume that I really enjoyed, finished a first draft for something I was writing, got a Starbucks, listening to this song, that kind of thing, listening to this podcast. And then on the left is a to-do. So I was doing a lot of journaling on these days, so I can see that I've written like I need to fill in my 5-year, I need to clean pens that I didn't do. So that's one way to sort of use the A6 Hobonichi setup. This one is slightly different. So this one I used as a memory keeper, and this was an example of a journal that I bought, and here's the spread. So this is an example of a journal that I bought and didn't use when I was supposed to, so I ended up using it in 2022. And I've redated, so I've put like Sunday, or I've covered the day of the week up. I had some stickers here, but sometimes, I think we'll see in a bit, I will have just drawn a line through the date. So you can reuse these things as well. So if you buy something, not all is lost. And this I used for memory keeping. So here's my dog. Isn't he so beautiful? I'll bring it a bit closer so maybe you can see him a bit better. Isn't he so lovely? So I put pictures in here. At the top I wrote the pen and ink that I was using, rewrote the year in. Here I wrote what we had for dinner, which was sausage sandwiches, exciting times. Let's see if I can show you another spread. There's another one. This is the day we got our cat. So I picked this out because I thought it would be fun to see. And you can see here, I've just taken a marker and just drawn through the day so that I won't get confused. And I'm still, so yeah, and I put the day in here. I said it was Sunday 2022. And I put sort of like what pen and ink I was using. This is that long autumn night ink that I put in a different ink video. And then this is the day we got our cat. So this is like a really nice spread, really special spread. And I happened to have a sticker of a cat that I thought looked quite like her. So I did a kind of like a whole thing about it. And I didn't always memory keep in this either. I had it lying around, and in the front I ended up doing morning pages in here. So I just ignored the dates altogether and just put down things that I wanted. And then here I wrote down the inks that I was using when I did morning pages. So if we go to June the 6th, let's say, I wrote the morning pages in Sailor 960 that I had. That's how I used the monthlies for that. Okay, so those are the Hobonichi A6. I have repurchased and reused them in different ways. If you're thinking about starting with Hobonichi, I would recommend the A6. I think it's a great place to start. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do an A6 this year, even though it kind of panics me, but that's for a different video. Different kind of A6 is this Midori Hibino. Okay, so this was 2023, so in 2022, I think this was the first year this became available on the European market or whatever. And I remember seeing this and going crazy and thinking that I had to own this, and it was really hard to get hold of. And I ordered it from Spain, and I thought that this was going to be the notebook to end all notebooks, and that I was going to be happy forevermore. And I hated it. And I used it like for spite. Eventually I think I did give up before the end of the year was out. Yeah, as you can see, I stopped on the 21st of December. I couldn't do the final week of the year. I just, and even holding this journal to a certain extent, I feel annoyed. I guess it wasn't for me for some different reasons. Let's get a blank spread so I can talk through it. The grid is far too small. I think that this is, if you had minuscule writing, or if you had quite big writing and you could use 2 lines at a time, or obviously if you're writing characters like for, you know, the Japanese market, I guess that's what they're thinking of. Maybe it is easier to write in this kind of grid. But for me, my handwriting just didn't work, and it felt like I was filling in these pages forever because of that. I don't know why I disliked it so much. I think the inks bled sometimes, which I didn't like because it was supposed to be Tomoe River paper. I think it was the grid size that really did it for me, because there's lots of things I should like here, like it's cream. I liked the 2 columns. I found this space a bit weird, and I never knew whether to write there or decorate there. To be fair to it, it held up to quite a lot of abuse and hatred, but as you can see, it's pretty chunky. Like I did fill it a lot, and I did write pretty much only in fountain pens, and it went okay. And I stuck a lot of Courtney Diaz printables and other printables in, and photos and stickers and all that kind of stuff. So to be fair to it, it did hold up to a lot, but yeah, I would not go back. Here's an example of a spread and how I used it though. So there's my dog again, looking out at the river. He hates water, but for some reason he likes to look at it. I guess he likes to know his enemy or something. At the top, I would put, in this line I would put weather, so like it was bright and sunny that day, and then this ink was Sailor Yamadori. Often I will record what ink I've used. In this column, I would write like I would flip the book and write this direction, and I would put meetings. And then I would just kind of journal during this time and decorate. And as you can see, like I struggled with what to do up here. It just felt like the page was oddly arranged, and my handwriting is so tiny and cramped, and it was not pleasant to do that, to write like that. Here's another one. So it was super cold. Poison Envy was the ink I was using. I didn't have any meetings that day, so I put things that I was listening to, books I wanted to read, a little bit of journaling here. So I ended up doing actually quite a lot of lists in this as a way to sort of, I think, to fill it up, which makes me kind of sad because I don't think that, you know, if it's not working for you, I wish I could be the sort of person that could put it aside, but I can't. I mean, I could in the final week of December, but I obviously struggled with letting it go because I thought it was going to be so perfect for me. And it just wasn't. It just wasn't perfect at all. I did try and write a little bit like skipping, but then I also thought that that looked strange. I didn't end up using the months. Something that I thought was really cool in here was they had a future log. Let me see if I can, there it is. They had a future log in here, but again, it was just too small to write in. So this wasn't the journal for me. It might be the journal for you. If the small grid doesn't bother you, if you like cream paper, if you like A6 and something chunky, I would recommend it. You know, it's well made, it's well put together. I wouldn't recommend it if you like broad nibs and wet ink, unless they've changed the paper and they're using the new Sanson paper, a different type of paper. I don't think it's gonna work, but it just wasn't right for me. That's all I'm saying about that. All right. So this is, again, a notebook that I've repurchased loads. This is a Hobonichi Weeks. This is one I had last year. And I picked this one out because I did not use this Weeks as a planner at all. It sat last year. I bought it. I had good intentions. I ended up buying a spring start and using it. It had sort of like the botanicals on the cover. But this one just sat and I never used it. And then I began to use it as a journal. And so I ignored the dates completely, and I just wrote in things that I was doing, journaling, private stuff. I guess that's why I'm trying to flip kind of quickly. But yeah, I used the back pages to journal, and I used the front pages to journal, and I didn't really care about the dates. I mean, I've got something stuck in here, but underneath, oh well, I put pictures of my dog and my cat, but on the look here, this is a good example. I just wrote. So again, if you do have a Weeks lying around and you feel kind of guilty, which I do sometimes, you can be like me and just journal over it or use it for different things. The Weeks would also be good for the kind of journaling that I was doing in here, like gratitude journaling. And then maybe you could do in the back like particular highlights, like special days or something, or special things that make you excited or make you super grateful. I've had a couple of Weeks now. I've had, including this one, 3. I am getting one next year, so I guess I will have 4. I would recommend the Weeks. In fact, let's just say I'd recommend everything Hobonichi. I think the products are really good quality. I think you can use them in lots of different ways. I think they're fun. There's a reason that everybody's doing Hobonichi hauls and talking about how excited they are. It's because, you know, they are good. They do good stuff, in my opinion. This is not dated, but this is a Traveller's Company vertical insert. So I've used it on and off at different times for memory keeping. I've not finished it. I've got spreads in the back, so it's undated. You can sort of put the date up here and you can write, I guess if you wanted to use it as a planner, appointments. I don't really know what you would do with the space down here. The formatting of this is slightly strange. I think the verticals from Sterling Ink or the Cousin are actually nicer. But for decorating on, there's something about this that it ends up looking always quite pretty, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm trying to keep things in frame. Please forgive me if I'm not. But yeah, I was doing memory keeping at different times in here. I think mainly because I follow Courtney Diaz. I'm a member of her Patreon, and she uses this journal, and so I just wanted to be like her. So I was sort of imitating her. And here's one of her printables, this little fox. So yeah. This is another one that I have enjoyed, but I have not bought the dated version, and I'm not going to this year. I would maybe some year if I was permanently in a traveler's notebook, but I tend to prefer something thicker. However, it is fun to memory keep in here, and you can use the columns in like interesting and exciting ways. All right, I have 3 A5 journals left, one of which I'm going to talk about really quickly. This is the Desert Island Journal. Of all journals, of all planners, I would recommend the Hobonichi Cousin. I guess if you want something smaller, get the A6, but I love the A5. And I've talked in other videos about how I use the Cousins, so I won't go on at length here about it. You can maybe check my first video, is where I talk about it more fully. I pulled out last year's so I could show you a couple of spreads. And again, there are beautiful Hobonichi Cousin spreads out there. Mine are not exactly it. I mean, I'm not doing myself down here. I'm not an artist. But I do memory keeping in these vertical columns, and I write things that I'm grateful for on the left-hand side column here. And then I do daily memories in the, well, this is another vertical column where I did some memory keeping. And then I do, in the daily spreads, I do sort of like decorate, write about my day, that kind of thing. Here's a page I picked to show you. So this will just be what I did on October the 1st with a little bit of decor. And this is what I wanted to read in October. These are some goals that I had for October. One thing that's kind of sad about this is you can feel like these, in 2024, as I'm sure you probably know, they changed their paper. And the old paper is so silky and soft. It feels like there's a magic to this paper that no longer is around. And it sounds, silly to talk about a paper like that, but the old Tomoe River paper, there was just something about it. So it's kind of sad to hold this old cousin, and my new one doesn't feel anything like that. I know some people complain that the new Sanzen paper they're using is not consistent page to page, and that it responds differently on every page. I haven't had that experience, but I do feel like there's less of a glassy writing experience. I feel almost like my nib sinks into the new paper of a cousin. It's like it's going into a pillow, whereas here it just glided across. So yeah, that makes me sad. But if you want to see more fully how I use my cousin, I recommend checking out that first video, and you can scroll through to where I talk about my Hon. I like using it this way, so I like using monthlies for sort of memory keeping, verticals for memory keeping, and dailies for like what I did on that day. But obviously you can use it as a planner as well. You could also do what I did in the A6, you could rub out the day and you could just write across. I don't know about the vertical weeks, I'm sure there are interesting ways to use that, but I would find that difficult to repurpose a cousin compared to the others. Apart from the Hobonichi, this is the one that I would consider, this is the one I would consider rebuying. It's naked. It did come with a cover. This is the Ars Studio journal. It did come with a cover, but I did something to it, and maybe I threw it out and put it into, so now when I store it, yeah, it looks kind of naked. But it does come with a nicer cover than this. This is the one I would actually consider rebuying. I'm not going to rebuy it this year, but I would another year maybe do it. It has really interesting weekly spreads. So they're kind of like boxes per page for you to fill out. And this is kind of an overview of the week. I think this could make a really interesting planner, actually. If you had a job maybe where it wasn't meetings day in, day out, like you weren't doing classes or you weren't doing meetings, but instead you were working on projects. And I actually think this is meant to be a project planner. So again, this was something I used for memory keeping. And I'm talking about different things that I did on that day. But these are how I used the spreads. Oh, this is very Courtney Diaz inspired. She used letters like this, and I think I did it too in this spread. So again, my cat and my dog, some flowers that my husband got me. There was a heat wave that week. I also got something from Starbucks and kept the like little receipt. I really liked in the back here, they have these grids. I don't really know what to call them other than that. Brick notes, they call them. And I actually swatched new inks, and I also did ink palettes. So this was my winter, spring and autumn ink palette that I was using that year. And I didn't use all the back pages, as you can probably see. Some were left over. But I do think I did currently inked. And here's more ink swatches. Yeah, I used these pages for what I had currently inked up during that year to keep a record of it. The paper is quite nice and it's quite thick. Again, as I said, if I was to repurchase one of these, I would repurchase the R Studio journal. And the last journal that I'm going to talk about is this Take a Note A5. Again, this is one of those that the first time I saw it, the first time I became aware of it, I thought it was going to work really well for me, and it did okay. I think I had a cousin that year as well, and it lost out because the cousin got my love more than this journal did. But I do like this journal. It uses a heavier weight Tomoe River paper. I kept track of what inks I used in spreads. I doubt you're surprised if you've seen my videos before that I've done that. I didn't use the monthlies, as you can see. I did a lot of commonplacing in here. I think here I was commonplacing about angels in the Bible in Genesis. I don't know. But I decorated the spread and I really liked how this one had columns. It also has page numbers, which I like. That's something in the sterling ink that I really enjoy. Here's another example. I did a tarot spread. Every day I pulled a tarot card and I spoke a little bit or wrote a little bit about what the card meant and how I would apply it to my life. I found it really fun to journal in here. I found the columns really fun for like decorating. For me, again, I'm not, very artistic, but I think I enjoyed that experience of writing in the columns and thinking about how to decorate it. Sometimes I didn't decorate, sometimes I just wrote, but as you can see, most of the time I did. Again, I would say if you don't like the Cousin, but you don't want to do an A6, so you don't want a smaller size, but you don't want so much to have to fill in every day, this might be a very nice alternative for you to try. And you get the Tomoe River paper, you get also like the binding is one of these, I don't know what it's called, but it's stitched exposed. And you get quite like a lot of bang for your buck with a binding like that. You can stick a lot in and it will still be fine. So yeah, I would recommend it, but I don't think I will ever get one again. I think I tried it, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I tried it. It's like no hate to any of these, except maybe slightly to the Hibino, but that's a me problem, not a Hibino problem. But just, I like to try new things and then also have a Hobonichi Cousin or Hobonichi of some sort with me as a kind of security blanket. I hope this video was okay and wasn't all over the place, and it sort of shows you what these journals look like at the very least and how they might be used, and I hope you found that helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Any comments or anything, please put them in the box below and I will get right back to you. And I will see you soon, hopefully with all the journals I've got for next year. They're on their way, and when they're here I will do a video on it. So thank you for watching again. Take care. Bye.